Hey guys, all right, welcome to my office. We are going to be just going over the payment protection program. There's a couple sites out there that kind of address it and what to expect and how to apply and all that. So, of course, the first thing you need to do is go to the SBA website where they have everything. But let me just go over one of the sites, one of my favorite sites, Vox, for kind of lays it all out for you and what to expect. Now, there have been some treasury and bank changes, of course. So on April 3rd, when this opened, a lot of people were applying, of course, and to try to get that money, but the banks weren't having it, of course. And who has the power? The banks. So even though the government passed this 0.5% and certain amounts that could be given out, they are changing it. So the banks increased it to 1%. And a couple other little things that go with it. Now, nothing big deal, of course. I'll take a 1% all day beyond what the grants are, but let me just go ahead and go over what the current issues are. All right, so the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. This enables organizations to obtain up to $10 million in loans that are up to 100% forgivable if they do not lay off any employees or if they rehire employees they have already laid off. The second is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, the EIDL, which includes a $10,000 grant that businesses can apply for and which they do not have to pay back. The rest of the EIDL loan, which caps out at $2 million, is not forgivable, but can be more flexible than the PPP and types of expenses it covers. Now, it is possible for businesses and nonprofits to apply for both, and that they should do so fast. We encourage you to apply as quickly as possible because there is a funding cap. Now, this is the PPP application, and this is the EIDL application accepted letter that you can do online. Now, this is separate from if you're an independent contractor. This is for if you're an employer, okay? Now, the independent contractor, I believe, starts on the 10th. April 10th is when you can start applying for these funds. So the PPP, the bulk of the small business stimulus funds in the CARES Act, roughly about $350 billion, is dedicated to establishing the Paycheck Protection Program, which is intended to guarantee businesses the loans they need to cover 8 weeks of payroll, along with some utility and rent costs. If businesses keep employees on payroll or rehire them by June 30th after they've been laid off, these loans could be fully forgiven. Businesses are able to request 2.5 times their average monthly payroll cost for this loan. Organizations can apply for PPP by calling their banks and other lenders directly or this form on the SBA website. So you'll want to go to the SBA website. The EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program in advance, there's a $10 billion in stimulus bill allocated for the EIDL program. This money will go towards two things. It sets up a grant program that would provide $10,000 of emergency advance that businesses won't have to pay back, and it funds low-interest loans organizations can use to cover operating expenses. Though they will have to repay these funds, the loan amount that the organizations can request will be based on the amount of economic injury they have sustained because of the coronavirus. So the EIDL and the PPP programs are up and running since April 3rd for small businesses and nonprofits. Another PPP application will go live on Friday, April 10th for independent contractors and self-employed individuals. So since this is a new program, the SBA is trying to push this out the best they can and get same-day approvals. However, banks are having concerns with this, and so they're a little bit lagging behind, and they're kind of picking and choosing who they're going to allow this to go to or not. Still, you should reach out to your bank and try to see how you can get applied for these loans. However, the EIDL program is currently funding, and it's probably the fastest way for you to get funding for your business. Now, of course, you're going to have to see if you qualify for these funds, and some of the lists for that is that you have to have a business that's been operational since February 15th of 2020. So, yeah, pretty simple. Basically, if you are just starting a business March 1st, then you're out of luck because basically you're trying to take advantage of the system is how they're seeing it. Now, of course, it's not true. Some people really did just start, but, you should have had some economic fallout, or just you're so brand new into it that maybe you should take a hiatus until all this blows over. So some of the other lists include any business with 500 or fewer employees, any 501c nonprofit that has 500 or fewer employees or otherwise meets the SBA size requirements, restaurants, hotels, or other businesses categorized under accommodation of food services that have 500 employees or less, tribal businesses, and 501c9 veteran organizations, independently owned franchises, self-employed workers, independent contractors, gig workers, and sole proprietors. Businesses and nonprofits eligible for EIDL program are required to have been operational since January 31st of 2020, okay? They include any business with 500 or fewer employees, any private nonprofit that has 500 or fewer employees, sole proprietorships, independent contractors, tribal business, cooperatives, and employee-owned businesses. Now, there is no harm in applying for both of these, so go ahead and do so. Under the PPP, the loans are predominantly aimed at covering payroll costs up to $100,000 per employee, but can be used to address other expenses as well, including utilities, rent, and interest on mortgage payments. Loans used to cover these costs are 100% forgivable, and at the end of 8-week period during which they are used, but if the money is used for other expenses, that portion of the funds will not be forgiven. Under the EIDL program, the grants and loans can be used for a broader array of costs, including rent and mortgage payments, salary, workers' paid leave, and the business operational needs. Because small business owners don't have to worry about as many rules around the loan forgiveness, there's slightly more flexibility regarding these funds. Now, the biggest difference between the PPP and the EIDL is that the PPP can be completely forgivable, while the EIDL loans are only forgivable up to $10,000. All right, guys, so that wraps it up. I'm going to try to get one of my good friends on the call to do another video on the process and how he did it, because he already applied and he was accepted, and he already, I believe, has got his funding already. If not, we'll clear that up on the phone call. But look forward to the next video, and good luck out there, guys.